And I've literally been following that light ever since, including down to Newbridge, which one of the things that you'll see when you walk in is the place is flooded with sunlight, which means by definition it's flooded with hope. So that light was real. And I've seen it in interesting ways other places. A guy named Joe Williams, he's a jazz singer, came to Pittsburgh, and he sang for our school. And he didn't know it at the time, and we didn't know it at the time. He was very ill, but he sang brilliantly. He loved the place, and we had a reception for him afterwards. And he came up to me in the reception, kind of behind me, put his arm around mine. He said, God's picked you, man, to do this work. There's light in this place, and there's light in you. And we lost him 6 months after that. So I believe that that was not an accident. I believe it was providential. And I'm not in the church business, I'm in the training business. But I'm telling you what I saw and what I believe and what I live. Not one center that we have opened so far, and we have 4, including Newbridge, has ever had a fight, a drug or alcohol incident or police call. Not one. In 4 U.S. cities. Now you can say Pittsburgh is because Bill Strickland's standing there staring at everybody. But you can't say that for Cincinnati, Grand Rapids, and San Francisco. No metal detector, no cameras, 0. But they're all flooded with sunlight, which means by definition they're hopeful. I believe that the journey of all people kind is to find the light. And I'm building my centers on that principle. I ended up in Israel, in the Galilee, with the Jews and the Arabs. And I was presenting a little slideshow of my center with these 2 groups sitting in the mayor's house in Saknin, who was also Arab. And I'm kind of doing my little story. And there was this one Arab fellow looking at me with a tunic on, and he wasn't smiling. And I said, well, all right, I'll just keep talking. So at the end of the presentation, he reached across the table and he said, in Arabic, and the translator said, he gave me these beads. And I said to the interpreter, I said, what are these beads? He says, oh, well, many Muslims who go on the Hajj to Mecca during their lifetime have beads blessed as part of their journey. He's giving you his beads. He says you're a true believer. The Arab mayor saw that happen. And he stood up and said, I pledge 2 acres of land on behalf of this center, knowing full well that his kids are going to go to school with Jewish kids or there's no deal. That happened 2 years ago. And we're going back, man. We're going to build a center for these children. And I turned to all these men and I said, look, your children deserve light, not darkness. And while y'all figuring out the politics, why don't we build a school for these children? And we may have a chance to pull that off based on the principle of light. And if I can pull it off in Saknin in the Galilee on behalf of Jews and Arabs, the rest of the world is downhill from there.
Okay. Your program obviously is a great one, and I just wanted to mention and ask a question. First of all, we have had the School of the Arts here for some time, and they have exactly that same kind of record, almost perfect attendance, and about 95 go on to higher education. And the students and the families make a commitment when they come to that high school that their goal is to have their child go on to higher education. The thing that is so tragic is that it's still hard to get that message out around the city. It gets some publicity now and then. But the thing that really alarms me is still when we cut back in almost any school system, they first cut the arts and then they cut music, which seems to be more vital to the kids. And I don't know how we can overcome the fact that we show this lesson over and over. A child must have a goal and must have some hope, and you must take advantage of the talents they have to get them inspired. And I don't understand why we can't get that message across, your message, essentially.
Well, we're going to stay at this. I have no intentions of changing the message or my mind. We're going to play this hand out and see where it takes us. Now, one of the things you can do is to buy this book. It's called Make the Impossible Possible. It's a great book. You ought to buy it. And the reason you should buy it is every time I get a book sold, it gets me a half inch closer to getting on Oprah. And if I get on Oprah and she finds out I'm the black guy in Pittsburgh that built that school, looks just like that school she built in Africa, now we can get down to cases. Because I'd like to ask her to make a phone call on behalf of me to a fellow called the President of the United States, who I think would get this story. Because everything he talked about in the State of the Union, I just talked about here at lunch today. And I think he'd get this story. So as to how we're going to survive in terms of enhancing the arts, get me in the conversation, and I won't forget you. The arts is central to this strategy, and it is non-negotiable. It will be there as long as I'm a part of this conversation, and we're going to play this hand out. Now, if you don't mind my digressing a little bit to acknowledge a friend who happens to be sitting right there, this fellow, Ron Richards, I'm actually working for this guy. He don't pay me, but I've been in Cleveland twice in 2 days. I'm coming back on Tuesday. It's a very exciting friendship, but he gets this. You got a big asset here, and you ought to leverage this guy because he really understands what the arts is all about in terms of the school system and for Newbridge. And the foundation, the Cleveland Foundation, happens to be one of those groups that actually literally does put its money where its mouth is. That's a big thing, because that ought to be used as a strategy and a case study as to how to do this the right way. That's how we're going to preserve the arts. It's going to be good people like you who stand up and, in spite of everything else, insist that culture not be denied. One of the things that was most impressive when I went to Israel were the cultural institutions that I saw in a place that had been troubled with war and difficulty. They recognized that culture was part of the strategy. And I mentioned, I think, that we're going to probably end up in Haiti before this is over. A group from Haiti came to Pittsburgh 2 weeks ago, SEMA Center, and the first thing out of their mouth was, how do we build an employment and training program, and how do we build a cultural institution? That was a very encouraging sign.
Today at the City Club of Cleveland, we have been listening to Bill Strickland, President and Chief Executive Officer of Manchester Bidwell Corporation. Thank you, Mr. Strickland. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This forum is now adjourned.
For information on upcoming speakers or for podcasts of the City Club, go to cityclub.org.